The last time I spoke at FinCon was in 2019 in Washington, D.C. That particular FinCon marked a very pivotal moment in my business and in my life. I wasn't on the big stage that year, but my stage felt big that day. I don't know if what I was talking about happened to be super popular or if there was just a lull in the schedule, but I was shocked to see that the room I was speaking in was packed. There I was, standing on my small stage, and there was people everywhere, standing at the back of the room, sitting in the aisles, and even blocking the door. I finished my talk that day, and I felt inspired. I felt wonderful, just full of energy, and happy to have helped others. But it all changed when I flew back home from FinCon that year. You see, for 2 years, I had 2 separate identities. By day, I was Allison Baggerly, 5th grade math teacher. But by night, I was Allison Baggerly, business owner. I spent my days teaching fractions, and my evenings were spent at home working on my business. I'd work until 5 o'clock as a teacher, rush home, spend 2 short hours with my family, then turn around to work on my business from 7 until 11. Any free time I had was spent writing, working, and creating. Also, I could hopefully one day leave that teaching job. It was exhausting. The day that I flew back home from FinCon, I went up to the store with my son, who was 6 at the time. I'll never forget leaving the store that day. As we walked through the sliding glass doors, hand in hand, my son stopped, he looked me straight in the eyes, and he said, "Why do you have to work all the time? Why are you always gone?" In just those 2 questions, my heart broke. Its pieces scattered across the parking lot. I immediately wondered, am I doing this right? Am I messing this all up? I put that sweet 6-year-old boy to bed that night, and I thought, I'm not going to let him look back and say, my mom was a failure. I'm not going to let him look back and say, she abandoned us for this job, for this business. I knew I had a choice to make. I could give up, like so many people do, because I want to invest in my family. Or I could think long term and ask myself, what will be best for my family? That was a turning point in my life. I knew I had to commit to simplicity. I had to simplify everything and narrow my business down because I realized I didn't have another 3 years left to grow my business like I had planned. I had to grow my business fast so I could leave my full-time job. I had to grow my business fast so I could slow down. I had to grow my business fast so I could enjoy the life I was given. I had to simplify so I could scale. It's widely known that starting your own business is risky, am I right? In fact, 20% of small businesses fail within their first year, and 50% of small businesses fail by their 5th year. I don't want to be a part of that statistic, and I don't want you to be part of it either. Simple scales. Committing to simplicity as an entrepreneur has a direct impact in 3 major ways. Simplicity impacts your business, simplicity impacts your consumers, simplicity impacts your life. Simple scales. Just like Chris was talking about, it's easy as an entrepreneur to get caught up in what we should do. It's easy to compare what we are putting out there to what other businesses are doing. And sometimes what we're doing just doesn't seem good enough. So we keep working, we keep tweaking, and we keep creating. And unfortunately, sometimes what ends up happening is we make a simple idea complex. I want you to ask yourself, what moves the needle in your business? Figure it out and double down on it. Go all in on the thing that you are passionate about and connects with your consumers. Stop trying to do it all. Simple scales. When I was around 13 years old, my hair transformed and took on a life of its own. It went from being dead straight, like this, to thick, curly, and admittedly, a little out of control, like this. I had no idea how to tame my wild hair, so I did what any girl in my shoes would have done. I straightened the craziness right out of it. It wasn't until I was in my 30s that I learned how to care for my naturally curly hair. I would stay up until 2 o'clock in the morning, reading articles on the science behind curly hair, why it needs more moisture, and how to determine the porosity level of my hair. That's when I discovered Jessie Curl. Jessie Curl sells hair products specifically for people with curly hair. It was founded by Jess McGinty, who had a similar experience with her own curly hair. Despite her best efforts, she couldn't contain the frizz that came with her curly hair. Classmates would even stick pencils in the back of her hair, and she wouldn't know they were there until the end of the day. In 2002, Jess figured there had to be a better way to manage her hair, so she did what any of us would do. She turned to the internet. Jess stumbled upon a homemade hair gel recipe and decided to test it out. While it didn't give her the exact results she was looking for, it was a start. Jess decided to start the process of creating her own hair gel. 14 recipes later, she struck gold. Jess shared her homemade recipes with others, and it was an automatic hit. Her email inbox was flooded from other curly hair women asking if she could make the recipe, bottle it up, and send it to them. That's when Jessie Curl was born. Jess went all in on one product, one solution for people with curly hair. To this day, Jessie Curl maintains a simple business model. Instead of offering 30 hair care products, they offer 13. Each product they offer is specific and designed to work well. And it does. Simple scales. When my youngest son, James, was about 3 years old, he had what we thought was a standard stomach bug. We kept him home from daycare, cuddled him, and tried our best to help him feel better. The following night, something in my mom gut told me that this just wasn't a regular stomach bug. So I grabbed my purse, wrapped him up in a red blanket, and headed straight to the hospital. After blood draws and tests, I found myself where no parent wants to be, in the back of an ambulance headed straight for the Children's Hospital in Dallas. One ultrasound and CT scan later, we learned that James's appendix had ruptured. His entire abdomen was infected. I'll never forget the moment that multiple nurses rushed into our room and told us that he had to go to surgery now. They swiftly lifted James's small body, placed it onto a gurney, and we headed straight for the operating room. Our surgeon met us there, and he assured us that he performs this surgery every single day. Year in and year out, he performs appendectomies. As a mom, I was more at ease handing my 3-year-old son, my heart, over to a doctor who knew what he was doing. Had this doctor told me that he performs appendectomies and also spends his days placing tubes in toddlers' ears and removing brain tumors, I would have lost confidence in him. Simplicity has a direct impact on your consumers. You don't have to know everything, do everything, and be everything to everyone. Not only is it incredibly confusing for your consumers, but let's be real, it's exhausting for you. Focus on one niche, one topic, one solution. Become the expert in what lights you up. Make it clear where you stand and what you stand for. Don't leave your audience confused about how you can be instrumental in their life. That's exactly what one business did. Todd Graves had a vision. Open a restaurant in his hometown directly off LSU's campus. He wanted it to be the place that college students visited after a long night of studying, or we're all adults here, right? Partying. So he did it. He drafted a business plan, he got scrappy, and he opened his own restaurant in 1996. The coolest part, he named it after his dog, Raising Cane's. Raising Cane's has only one love, chicken fingers. While their competitors offer upwards of 50 options on their menu, Raising Cane's sells only 4 items: chicken fingers, crinkle cut fries, coleslaw, and Texas toast. Okay, 5 options if you count their cane sauce. Their menu is limited, very limited, but let me tell you, Raising Cane's knows chicken. Because customers go to Cane's every single day because they know exactly what they want: chicken. There is absolutely no way you can walk into Cane's and be confused. Going all in on one niche, one topic, has an impact on your consumers. They know exactly where you stand and how you can be instrumental in their life. Simple scales. This past summer, our family had the joy of exploring Canada. We spent a majority of our time in Banff National Park. Of all the experiences we had, my absolute favorite, and the one I was looking forward to the most, was our hike to Lake Agnes Tea House. This tea house sits at the top of a mountain. You have to take a 2.2-mile hike to it. There is no water, no electricity, and the only way to get to it is to hike through the forest, preferably with bear spray. So that's what we did. We spent an hour and a half hiking, keeping a lookout for bears, and letting our kids play in the snow along the trail. At the end of our hike, we were rewarded with gorgeous views, delicious tea, and the perfect log cabin to match. As I sat there across the table, I looked at my children. They were bundled up in jackets, plopped down on a bench carved from a tree stump, and eating fresh cookies. In that moment, the last thing on my mind was my business. In fact, for that entire trip, I didn't work on my business at all. I was able to fully step away, be with my family, and live in the moment. In the past, that would have been a dream for me. In the past, that would have felt impossible. But now it's my reality. Simplicity in business has a direct impact on your life. Every time you open an email after work hours, your mind shifts to your business. Every time you post on social media after dinner, your mind shifts to your business. Committing to simplicity means setting boundaries around your business and your life so you know what you can say yes to, and more importantly, what you should say no to. Simplicity has a direct impact on your life in the best way possible. Simple scales. In 2019, my sweet 6-year-old son asked me 2 questions that forced a major change in my life and in my business. Why do you have to work all the time? Why are you always gone? Those 2 questions taught me that simple scales. Simplicity has allowed me to grow my business, connect with my audience better, and enjoy my life. Now it's my turn. I have 2 questions for you. Are you willing to simplify your own business? And are you willing to let go of what's not really working and go all in on what is? You might be surprised at the impact that simplicity can have, not just on your business, but your life as well. Simple scales. Thank you.
All right.
Let's give it up for Allison.
Thank you, Allison.
That's so awesome. My gosh, so
was
many
awesome.
nuggets. Have like a whole page full of notes. Thank you.
You rock it. Go for it. You go first.
Well, so I'm really intrigued that you said double down on what you're passionate about. So I'm really curious on what your process for that was so that people can understand what to do.
Oh my goodness. You know, for me, coming home from that FinCon, I had so many things of what I wanted to do. I heard so many success stories that I was like, I'm gonna do that and that and that and that, and it's gonna be amazing. And I realized that I couldn't do all those things. I had to prioritize what I liked most, what was already working for me, and go all in on it. And then when I did that, I mastered that. Then I said, okay, now let me add this to my plate, right? So master social media. Okay, now let me add a podcast. Got that down. Now let me write a book. Got that down. Maybe YouTube's next, I don't know.
Master, then move. I love that. That's good.
I love it. Well, one thing that you've done really well and inspired me on is your Instagram presence. And I don't know if you feel the same way, but I ride this balance between social media being a business growth engine and a massive waste of my time.
Yeah.
How do you balance that as a person who's scaled their business very successfully with social media?
Yeah, I'm not gonna lie to anyone here. I used to love Instagram, and I don't really like it anymore. And here's what happened for me. I was on it a lot. I felt like my phone was always in my hand. One day I was walking my son to school. I drop him off, and I receive a message that says, "Oh my gosh, I just saw you walking your son to school on this road. I didn't know you lived here in this neighborhood." And I said, no more. I have to create boundaries, not just with my time, but for me as a mom, what I'm willing to share. And that looked like scaling back. It looked like repurposing as much as I could, hiring out some of the content in terms of posting, and it looked like asking myself, what matters more? And sometimes social media feels like it matters more, but it really doesn't.
Yeah. That's wisdom there. That's
Absolutely.
so good.
There's a theme we're hearing, everybody. Bring it back to the value. Bring it back to the integrity. And Allison's showing us that today. Everybody, let's give Allison
give it up
a
for
round of applause.
Allison.
Thank you.